At one point in my life, I thought I might want kids. Then I got older and realized I didn't. They stopped being a part of the plan. When I met my, now ex-fiancé, he agreed with me at first. Then I unexpectedly got pregnant. I was going to abort. My ex-fiancé begged me not to. He said that he would raise the baby and have no expectations from me, no child support, no seeing her, etc. I thought about it and said fine, but no one could know. I said he'd have to tell people it was a one-night stand. He agreed. The baby girl was born, he took her, I moved out of the city. I told one person I trusted and then later, my husband. I did not tell any of my family. 17 years later, this young lady reached out to me. I spoke with my ex and asked if he was comfortable with it. He said yes. She just wanted college advice because she's going down the same path I did. We got to know each other, and while I don't feel like her mother, I am proud of how she turned out. At this point, we agreed to minimal contact, so I could help her with college applications and such. She calls me by my first name and doesn't consider me mom, but says she harbors no ill will. Knowing that my family could possibly find out somehow, I finally decided to tell them. They were angry that I had kept this a long-term secret. My mother prides herself on being a grandmother. My sisters and brother have given her 6 grandkids. My siblings think I'm a terrible parent. My dad isn't so much upset with what I did in terms of letting my ex raise her, but thinks they should have been allowed to be in her life. I said that it would have been too hard because I didn't want to be there. He called me selfish. They're now all getting to know her. Was I wrong to not let them know? This is a really tough situation, but I think not the idiot. Your ex wanted to be a father and you had that agreement from the start. If you had told your family and they had ended up being in her life, it would have been nearly impossible for you to not be in her life. I also think that you would have faced enormous pressure from your family to take on a mother role if they were to take on grandparent roles, based on how they reacted to finding out. It's your life, not theirs, and if your bio daughter has no ill will toward you, then it's definitely not your family's place to make you feel bad about it. Not the idiot. This is a perfect example of how you handle an unwanted child coming back into your life, not like the dude a couple of days ago who cruelly refused to know his daughter at all. People don't get that you don't have to have an amazing close relationship with an unwanted child, but the decent and empathetic thing to do is at least be kind to them. No child asks to be born, they shouldn't be punished. Not the idiot. That might sound a little strange, but basically what you did could be seen as equivalent to some sort of egg cell donation, surrogacy. That's not immoral, so why would what you did be? Just because you're the mother, not the father? Nah, that's not bad behavior. More like your family has some old-fashioned views. I can understand that they would have wanted to know, but that was your choice, not theirs. I have a daughter, Emma, who is 6 going on 7, going into 2nd grade in the fall. I'm her mom, so of course, I think she's beautiful, but realistically she is exceptionally very pretty, and it's the thing everyone comments on about her, which bothers me and her. People also always tie that to her breaking boys' hearts or teasing her about boyfriends or marrying boys. She's not even 7 years old yet, but people have been saying this type of stuff since she was a baby. Emma has never liked this, and since kindergarten, if someone says she's pretty she'll say, I'm kind and smart too, or I am a good helper and like to share too. She also gets upset and draws inward when people tease her about breaking boys' hearts or having a boyfriend. Since she was maybe 2 years old, she has always talked about marrying girls and thinking boys are icky. Take that as you will, we are. We don't expect a little child to have her preferences figured out, but we also don't want to make a big deal about it or correct her in case she does end up wanting to marry a woman. So long story short, after Easter, I sent an email out to our family and close friends asking them if they could ease up on talking about her appearance and teasing her about boys after she cried that night because her grandma said she'd have to marry a boy and she didn't want to. You'd think I asked my family to cut off limbs or eat a pile of dog doo based on the response, and things have been tense since, with lots of passive-aggressive comments about how I won't let them say anything and how what they're saying is normal. Her paternal grandparents responded that they are going to just skip her birthday party in case they offend me. My husband, and my brother and his sister, are the only ones who don't think I'm being an idiot here, but now my extended family makes me think I'm making a big deal out of nothing. But these comments really do upset Emma a lot, so I don't know what to do here. Not the idiot. It's not even like you're doing it because you're offended. Which for the record would still be not the idiot. They are actively upsetting the 6-year-old child and getting angry when told to stop. This is ridiculous and hurtful behavior, and if you'll excuse me, I need to go find my niece and tell her she's smart and talented right now. Not the idiot. You are parenting so well. Your kid already has a wise head on her shoulders. How petty of your extended family to boycott a little girl's birthday because they've been asked not to say something that will make her cry. Honestly, I'd frame it back to them in those terms, and then make sure to invite all her classmates that she likes, so she is surrounded by people who are actually mature enough to hang out with her. Not the idiot. Old people always talk about things like this. It's a generational thing, and you have a right to tell them how your generation feels about it. You're the mommy, and you should tell people if what they're doing is making your daughter uncomfortable too. It's like when I was a little man, I hated having to hug my aunts and they'd kiss on me and I hated it. I don't see why you'd want affection from someone forced to give you affection, so I know I'd never make my kids hug someone they don't want to hug just cause we're family. My son died at age 4. On the first Mother's Day after he died, my husband got me a necklace with some of his ashes in it. I wear it every single day. My aunt is not someone I see often. She got on with my son but only really saw him a handful of times a year. She came a few times to see him when he was sick, but not often. When we were told he didn't have long left, I asked if she wanted to come and say goodbye, and she said she was too busy with work. I figured she was in denial, maybe. I certainly was. She then missed his funeral to go to a concert. Her husband messaged me yesterday asking if he would be able to get some of our son's ashes so she can have some jewelry made. Apparently, she asked him for one for her birthday as she really misses our son and wants to feel close to him. I said no because I want him to stay with us. All of him. Then my aunt called me yesterday afternoon and said I was being selfish, he was her family too. I still said no. She said she acted the way she did when he died because she was struggling with it, and was in denial. But so was I, but it's been 3 years and she's hardly come to see any of us. She's not even met our newest baby yet, who is 4 months old. Very weird request. Honestly, the aunt might just want it so she can have a sob story to make people pity her. Maybe it's true she really was in denial about the son dying, but then she should have apologized to the parents for not getting to say bye and missing the funeral, not accusing the mom of being selfish. Not the idiot if it matters. I'm a funeral director, and the fact that she'd throw a stink over this freaking me out. He's your son. Mom and dad get to keep him with them and decide who can have any of his cremated remains, if any, and people should be gracious when they are declined. And this is how I feel before I take her atrocious behavior into consideration. And he can go pound salt. Not the idiot. I'm so sorry for your loss. I cannot imagine what you've gone through losing your child and continuing to grieve him every day. He's your child, and it is not the least bit selfish to not share his remains. Yes, he was her family too, but she played a very different role in his life. None of my aunts would miss my child's funeral for anything, and they'd never ask for such a personal gift as yours has. Enjoy your newest little one and pay no mind to her. My husband and I are expecting our first child in about 3 months. We've been so busy with other things that we haven't actually had a serious talk about names until last month. Our relationship has taken a serious nosedive since then. We're either giving each other the silent treatment or arguing. There's no in between. We have never had such opposite tastes on anything until this. I am a name snob, I fully admit it. No matter how much people say it doesn't matter, a name does affect people's perception, especially first impressions. I want to give my baby a name he can carry into adulthood without shame. Something that works no matter what path he takes in life and doesn't give people pause or make them say oh, like, insert fictional character here. You know, since he's going to be a child for what, 5% of his life? He needs a man's name, not a baby name. I don't want to call him some ridiculous/cutesy name. For example, his top name picks include Ranger, Rider, Flash, Six, Baratheon, Ender, Trapper, yeah. Tell me I'm the crazy one. And as if those are frightening enough, he wants to pair them up. Imagine my poor son living his life named Six Baratheon, surname. It's insane, and I'm honestly rethinking my marriage that we are fighting because he wants to give this kid a ridiculous name so badly. Those are just the highlights, by the way. His list includes a lot more Game of Thrones names and celeb stage names and 80s action flick names. I like traditional, classic, slightly overused names. Adam, Jack, James, Michael, Charles, Kenneth, Thomas. I've composed a mile-long list of similar names, and he turns his nose up at every single one. They're man names, he whines. Too old, he says. He wants something fun and cute. Okay, but by the time our kid is 45, I imagine he's going to be tired of this. Hell, probably by the time he's 15. I've told my husband he needs to sit down on this one. He's too blinded by the sonogram of a tiny baby and little blue onesies and teddy bears to remember our son isn't going to be little for long. But he won't have it. He screamed at me that he should be the one to name him anyway because he's a guy and understands boy names better than me. He's told me I'm boring and tasteless because of my picks. I've straight up told him I will fight for our child to have a sensible name as long as it takes. He said he's going to do the same so our son doesn't end up saddled with a dumb and overdone name. I don't know the legality of this, but if there's any power I can abuse to name the baby my choice when he's born, I'm 100% ready to do so. I hate to say it, but yeah, it's worth my marriage for my son to not end up named literally anything my husband likes. Not the idiot. Honestly, sounds like your husband is treating your new baby as an accessory rather than a person. Says he needs a cute and fun name, whilst ignoring that this is a person who is going to have to use that name in their actual life. No reason your son can't have the embarrassing name as a middle name. A lot of people have embarrassing middle names. That's where the embarrassing name that we liked but weren't cruel enough to give as a first name names belong. Not the idiot. Christ, I was prepared to hit this with an ESH when I read the title, but absolutely you are right to want to protect your baby from being called Six Ranger Baratheon, surname. Has your husband ever heard of nicknames? Does he have any names on his list that are at least normal enough to be passable? Regardless of the answers to those, it sounds like he threw a tantrum because he isn't getting his way. I hope that you're able to work through this issue with him, but he is absolutely an idiot here. Not the idiot. Unique names can be fun, but the examples given are almost all recipes for bullying, and I don't know how he thinks any of them are cute. Ryder is semi-common these days though, so maybe you could compromise by making that a middle name? Also worth mentioning to him that some traditional names can have youthful nicknames, like Tommy. Either way, you all are going to have to figure something out, or you'll be tearing the paperwork out of each other's hands at the hospital. This sounds like such a mess. Some background: my husband and I generally have a loving, happy relationship. We are compatible and rarely argue. My mother and I have a normal relationship, some minor issues, but nothing serious. My daughter, 26, got out of a terrible long-term relationship and moved back home with us about a year ago. She has been diagnosed with clinical depression. When she moved in, she struggled with even getting out of bed or showering. Since then, she has done a 180. She got a new full-time job. She also is back in school full-time because a degree will, hopefully, help her move up in her company. She has also been going to therapy once a week. In my opinion, she is doing fantastic and I am incredibly proud of her. My husband knows all of this. The issue is that she can be a bit of a slob. She wasn't like this before. I think she got into the habit of it at some point when she became depressed. This really annoys my husband, but honestly, she has so much on her plate that I, admittedly, cut her some slack. My mother came to visit yesterday and somehow she and my husband got on the topic of my daughter's messiness in front of my daughter. My husband was venting about this and my mother was agreeing with him. He brought up her cat and how I am the one who has been cleaning the cat's litter box. They both started berating my daughter, saying she was too old for that and asking her why she was keeping the cat if she can't take care of it. My mother went outside to smoke a cigarette and my daughter, who was now crying, told her dad that he hurt her feelings. My husband did not apologize. I went over to my daughter to console her because at this point she was sobbing. She kept quietly repeating to me, "I'm an idiot. Everyone thinks I'm an idiot." I'm telling her that is not true when my mother comes in. And the pair of them keep going on about it. This is when I lost my temper. I yelled at both of them. I told them to either be respectful toward my daughter or shut up and that they could have dinner by themselves. I then took my daughter to get some food and calm down. I have never spoken to either of them like this. Neither of them has spoken to me since yesterday, and I haven't put forth the effort to speak to them either. I do feel bad for losing my temper, but I am also scared for my daughter's mental health, and I do not want her to go back because dad and my mother make her feel bad about herself. Not the idiot. Depression is no joke. It ruined my life and it took years to pull out the shame spiral, much less fully recover. I'd love somebody to have my back like that. To the uninformed, depression looks like laziness. They could be twins, but that's no excuse to berate your own blood on account of their ignorance. Not the idiot. I understand where they are coming for, but they could have just ruined months of progress in battling her depression. If he wanted to confront her about it, he could have respectfully sat her down and politely told her that she had been doing great, but should work a little harder on cleaning up. Not put her on full blast in front of the whole family. Seriously not cool for someone who is already struggling. Not the idiot. Depression and disorganization go hand in hand. She's obviously working through her depression in a very healthy and productive way. If it's a real issue, your husband should have a constructive conversation about it rather than humiliate her. As a piece of advice, when I'm depressed, the biggest game changer is getting up and making my bed. I would definitely ask your daughter if she'd try it for a week.